This is the day 12 group practice or guided practice problems. These are the answers. Hopefully you've done these or attempted these each on your own first before you're checking your work. Problem number 1, I'm going to rewrite the problem. 21 less than or equal to 2n minus 5. I need to combine my like terms, so I'm going to add the 5 to the other side of the equation. So I get 26 is less than or equal to 2n. Then I divide by 2. Therefore, okay, I'm going to do something that I see students do all the time, so I don't want you to make the same mistake. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the mistake that I'm going to make. I'm going to write n less than or equal to 13. What's wrong with that answer? Why is that not the correct answer? Look, the variable is on the right-hand side of the inequality. Don't switch it yet. So I'll write n, the less than or equal to sign, or greater than or equal to the 13 first. Keep my variable and my answer on the same side as the inequality as it is, and then flip it around if I'm not used to looking at it this way. So if I flip it around, so this is not correct. If I flip it around, and I need to remember to flip everything around, including my directional arrow. 13. Do you see why you would have gotten it wrong? You would have had, when you graphed it, you would have been pointing your line the wrong way. So I graph my endpoint, the 13, and it is closed to the right. Problem number 2, I'll go ahead and rewrite the problem. I notice that it is a complex fraction, so I need to multiply that 4 to the other side of the equation. So I get 4 times negative 4 is negative 16 less than n minus 1. Just recopy it. Combine my like terms by bringing that 1 over, so it cancels on this side. So m is, the sign does not change its direction. Not the sign, I'm sorry, the inequality does not change directions. Negative 15. Or I can rewrite it as m is greater than negative 15. Just remembering to turn around my inequality symbol. I graph the endpoint, it stays open, and then points to the right. Question number 3. I went ahead and recopied the problem. And it looks like I'm ready to combine my like terms. I need to move that 6 over as a plus 6, so it cancels on the other side. Combine my terms. The bigger sign is the negative, and because they're opposite signs, I have to subtract. That gives me a 28 less than or equal to 7x. Then I need to divide both sides by 7. So x is greater than negative 4. If you're confused by the negative 4, or the greater than, or what I'm saying greater than negative 4, when you read an inequality, you always read it from the direction wherever your variable is located. Because my variable is on the right-hand side, I read it from right to left, opposite of the way you would normally read a book. I could rewrite it. I could write x greater than negative 4, because remember, right is wrong, or the wrong directions. You can turn it all around. And then when I read it, it makes sense. X is greater than negative 4. We don't typically read negative 4 is less than x. So I'm ready to graph this. I will find my endpoint of negative 4. I have to leave it open and point it to the right. Okay, I recopied number 4 so that I could work with it. I need to combine my like terms, so I move the 4 over. Because I combine like terms before I take care of any coefficients, I would not move that 6 over yet. So k over 6 is greater than or equal to positive 1. Opposite sign, so I had to subtract. The 6 is underneath my variable, so I need to move it up and multiply. So I multiply both sides by 6. So those 6's would cancel out, and I'm left with k is greater than or equal to positive 6. Graph my endpoint. This one is closed because there's the equal sign, and my variable's on my left where I want it to be, so I draw my arrow in the same direction as the inequality. Problem number 5. I recopied the problem. I need to combine like terms, and I miscopied that. That 8 on top of that 4 is supposed to be an x. Just a second, and I'll change that. Erase that. X. Okay, there we go. Now I got it copied right. Need to combine like terms, so I need to bring the 10 over as a plus 10. That cancels out. Becomes a negative 1 is greater than x over 4. I need to multiply by 4 to both sides. So you have negative 4, the greater sign, x over 4. My 4 is underneath my variable, so I need to multiply, under, up, and multiply. Kind of rhymes to help you remember what you're supposed to do. 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. It's greater than, these 4's cancel out, x. I'm ready to graph it because my variable's all by itself now. I find the negative 16, oops, looks like I must have made a mistake because I don't even see negative 16 on my graph. Where did I make my mistake? Let's back up. So let me just back up here and try to figure out where we went wrong. We'll do one step at a time. Isn't that nice? I can just rewind. Alright, I'm ready to combine like terms. Did I do that right? I added 10, yes. And get negative 1, that combines right. X over 4 times 4 on both sides. I think I already see what I did. It's negative 4 x. Should stop right there. I don't know what I did. It's just, it should stop right there. I think I divided or multiplied again by accident. So x is negative 4. I graph that. There's the endpoint. My variable's on the right hand side, which is the wrong way I want it, so I point my arrow in the opposite direction of the inequality, so it needs to point to the left. You can rewind if you need to see that problem. I accidentally erased the whole thing. So copying down number 6, there it is. I need to move this 5 to the, that's the constant that I need to move to the other side, so I write a plus 5. So I moved that term, combine my like terms. It's a positive 1 greater than n over 4. The 4 is my coefficient of n. It's being divided, so I need to multiply as the opposite. 4 times 1 is 4. It's greater than n. That's what I did before. I didn't draw my line, so I knew to cancel that out. Plot my endpoint at 4. I leave it open, and the variable's on the wrong side of the equation, so I need to point it the opposite way. Ready for problem number 7? Okay, I've copied the problem. Here I have a constant. There's my variable term. There's my constant. So I need to combine like terms, so bring my 5 on this side of the problem. 5n is less than or equal to negative 60. They were opposite signs, so I had to subtract. Divide both sides by 5. So n is less than or equal to, not sure what just happened there. So n is less than or equal to negative 12. Question number 8. 2 less than or equal to negative b minus 1. Combine my like terms, so I do a plus 1 on this side. So I'm left with negative b. My inequality does not change its direction yet. Negative 2 plus 1 is opposite sign, so I get a negative 1. And I can never leave a negative variable, so that negative just goes to the other side. What you're doing is you're dividing by negative 1 to get that negative to go to the other side. Because I'm dividing by a negative, this is where I ding 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 remember to change my direction. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, 1 over 1 is just 1. Plot the point. I do color it in. My variable is on the right side, which means that my direction arrow is pointing the wrong way, so I draw my arrow the opposite way. Okay, last two problems. Here we go. I recopied problem number 9. Looks like I need to bring my 5 to the other side of the equation. I just about put positive 5 on there. It's negative 5 to change its sign. So a over 2 is greater than or equal to positive 9. Then I have to divide by, or multiply by 2 because it's under, so I move it up and multiply both sides by 2. So the 2's cancel out. A is greater than or equal to 9 times 2 is 18. I plot my point. It is closed. My variable's on the left, so that means my inequality is pointing in the direction that I want my arrow to go. In the final question, 4 less than or equal to k over 14 plus 5 is the original problem. I need to move my 5 over to the other side of the equation by subtracting 5. So that cancels out. 4 and negative 5, those are opposite signs. Remember, same signs you have to add, opposite sign subtract. Bigger sign wins. So 5 is bigger than 4 and it's negative. 5 minus 4, they're opposite, so I have to subtract 1 less than or equal to k over 14. The 14's under my k, so I need to move it up and multiply. Move it up and multiply. So I have a k. My inequality stays the same direction because I wasn't multiplying by a negative number. 14 times negative 1 is negative 14. I plot my point. It is closed. My variable's on the right, which is the wrong side of the equation for it to be in. That means my inequality's arrow needs to point in the opposite direction that I see there. There you go. So those are all the guided practice problems.